Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the King Under the Mountain, and apparently so far today I have been too lazy and not swept my first mobs of the season that actually give me scrolls. So in today's video I am going to be doing probably the first of 7 or 8 season updates. I felt it was probably wise to do one at this stage rather than a couple of lives, and probably bring everyone up to speed with where the server is. It's very early days. There has been some unnecessary, shall we say, PvP that was accidental, as no one can actually get to anyone yet to fight each other due to the pass mechanics, but it is what it is. And today's been a fairly boring day because of that mechanic, but we'll probably go into all that stuff while we're on the video. Firstly, let's talk through what day of the server we're on. So we are on... server started 4 days ago, so we're on day 5. This is a Tactics Evolved non-roleplay server. We are on season part number 4, so in 14 hours and 17 minutes time, there will be more tiles available to everyone. We'll come on to that shortly, and that will be a great thing, trust me. Just for the other chapters, 14 fellowships respectively got to level 15, which is pretty good. And there was 8 million power gathered in the Search of Power thing, which again is pretty good, and 64,000 tiles on the first part. So no part of the journey yet has timed out, which I think is good. I don't think there's anything else I want to show you in that bit. So then we'll go to the leaderboards, where we fell down a little bit, to be honest. So is Raven, but there is no tiles for us to pick up apart from 90s and 60s. Whereas these guys here are in a slightly... shall we say, lesser area for population, so they've been able to get a little bit more production, so we've slipped down a little bit. Hopefully we'll get back up the boards tomorrow once we can get through into Dead Marshes. I'm hoping that we take that fairly early on. In the overall server merit board, we're actually right the way up there now, in 3rd, due to one fight pretty much, which is pretty accidental, to be perfectly honest, but there you go. Must have hit someone else as well yesterday. Raven's actually top. I think this is just the Kingdom one. No, it's everyone. Okay, well there you go. We're doing well for everyone in the server so far. Happy days. As for Fellowship Production Power, we have Odin, the old bank crew, the old Atmi crew, whatever you want to call them. I feel bad for calling them that now because kind of they are their own beast now and they're run by Funk and they do a pretty good job. So, but that's kind of where they started out anyway. Their origin story, shall we say, in the main. They're at 1 million. It's a lot harder to get above 1 million early now with the restrictions. So we are in 2nd in Kilt, formerly Dobie. We are You Shall Not Beak. And we have 1 million production in the Land of the Five Streams. Hunk also have 844k production. And as you've seen, we are under the same banner. So we are now in a kingdom together. That happened about less than an hour ago, I'd guess. In 3rd is Ibis. Very much looking forward to seeing what they offer. I believe they are a pretty cool team and pretty good. In 5th, we've got Otter. And in 6th, we've got Avalon, a team that I've known before. I've heard a lot about Otter as well, but I've heard of Avalon before. The loudest team in the server in World Chat, Meow. Still waiting for that sister fellowship of Woof, to be honest. But hopefully that turns up at some stage. Maybe Avalon could change the name. Ask them nicely. Then we have Echo in 8th, Spod in 9th, Gome in 10, and then we start getting into the other fellowships of Mad, June, and Raw. Oh, and Mesh, I better not forget Mesh. And Power and Brav also bringing up, and the little fellowship called Bean. But lots of smaller fellowships knocking around as well. And I'm very, very suspicious of this one here, Scott, the Mad Scots, with 18 people in. Very, very, very suspicious of that. That fellowship. So that's another great name, Sugon D's from D's Fellowship. Great name. So that's kind of that. As for the commanders list, we are 2nd now with our Dane, mainly because we used the scroll and hit someone in PvP once we got to level 40. Most people who are at the top end of the server now have level 40 commanders. Mainly, to be perfectly honest, because all we've been able to do for 2 or 3 days is sweep. I will show you where that is. This is where I was messing around earlier on. Oh, I did hit a couple of people earlier on. That was completely accidental. We'll have a look at that afterwards. So, where's the sweeping? Here we go. So we've been sweeping level 40 mobs and getting good XP for it. Only because before someone says what you said in your live the other day, you wouldn't do sweeping ahead of taking tiles. Well, no, I wouldn't, but there's no tiles to take, hence I've had to go to sweeping. This is actually stupid because these two, in fact, Witch King will, but Shadow won't have got any experience for this because he didn't have any troops, which was pretty foolish of me, to be perfectly honest. However, he would have got some for this the tile before. I think I was busy at the time. Anyway, it is what it is. So we've been sweeping, trying to get everyone up as high as we can. Commander level wise, we are at 40, 40, 39, 37, 35, 34, 34, 33. Skalhelm has been kind of benched to 20, particularly after she failed me earlier on as well. I will explain that shortly, which was really annoying, and I will go into the dumbness of what I tried to achieve, just so people don't try and do it again. What I basically did was I was trying to make a relocate pad up here, right by Dead Marshes, involving this 90 tile here. So I'd got the rest. I thought this tile was owned. So what I did, long story short, was I left the Fellowship to try and take this tile, not really thinking that at the time I didn't have a fort and was using the Fellowship fortress. So what happened was, and this is like a don't try it at home, kids, I beat the tile, happy days, but the issue with it was I couldn't take the tile because I didn't have range. So then I built the fort thinking this is okay, I can do the same thing again, and then failed the tile. Smooth. So lesson learned, don't try and be quick about it. And during that time as well, just for fun, I lost the reinforcements because I was trying to drag them about three hours up the map, something stupid. Long story short, all went wrong, so now we've just sent Gandalf up here to make sure he actually gets there, takes the tile so we can build the pad. Happy days, everyone wins. And the reason why no one has any tiles anymore is because the passes into the centre are locked at certain progression points. So, for example, this is the kingdoms on the map. We'll go into that while we're here. So, the ones that come out of the spawn are locked at pass progress 4, which I still think is a little bit slow. I'd like that to be 3 if possible. The ones to other kingdoms are progress 6, which again baffles me because you could literally, I apologise, Meow, for using you as an example again. You could literally just go through the Black Gate if you wanted to attack. So you could still go for it progress 4 anyway, rather than waiting for progress 6 at these. So that's fine. I think the ones into the Dol Guldur area are even longer, so they unlock at progress 8. So you cannot surround the ring early anymore, which I think is a new dynamic, which would be quite fun. I think you'll find lots of fighting sort of around the ring area a little bit more now, so you'll see a lot more engagement, I think, which is quite interesting. We are this horrendously coloured kingdom down here. We've took a couple of keeps again today. We've got another keep schedule for shortly, which I believe is Minas Tirith. Yes, so we've got Minas Tirith shortly. But the kingdom was established from Osgiliath, so we are there. This is Odin's kingdom, who actually formed before us. They were the first people on the server to form. I don't think they've got a kingdom partner yet, which is interesting. So we'll see what happens there. But we are already in with Honk, who took a couple of these as well. So we're doing okay so far. This is all the tiles that we've been using for gathering, which has caused its own chaos because the good thing and bad thing about this Kingdoms Lark is that you get a lot of this kind of stuff where your reinforcements get killed by accident as you're walking along roads if you don't watch them. So if it's like a 4-hour march, it's a bit of a problem. I probably may as well go into what PvP we've had so far. This was stupid as well. I don't know why I did that, but anyway. Where Sauron dies? Here we go. So I just got hit by a member of the Fellowship. I must have been stunned on the road by accident there. Something that I've definitely been moaning about a lot, so I apologise for that. It looks like we took out a couple of armies here. I don't know how strong we are. It looks like they were just tiling, so yeah, it looks like he was just walking along the road. And the other one was this. Sorry, didn't mean to take you out. I apologise. And this is the problem when you're about to form a kingdom. So there's a lot to take in now, I think. I'll just go into this fight before I go into what there is to take in. So this fight really, really interested me for a couple of reasons, because I was talking about this the other day. So face value, we should probably win that anyway because we're high level. It's smalls versus smalls, but you know, it's some pretty good gear. I mean, the Skalhelm's really nice, and I'm going to talk about the Skalhelm in a minute, I think. Saruman also really nice. C2 Saruman. And an Undying being run in the evasion build with the heal. I don't know what heal he actually did here, but there's some nice gear in that. So let's have a look at what the heal actually did. 8k healing. I mean, it's a bit meh, really, for 10 points for me, but there you go. From what I've heard about the Undying's healing, because it is a really good heal skill, but it's only once. So I believe you have to stack focus and command on the Undying. Quite a significant amount of focus to get the really good heal from it. So that perhaps isn't quite enough. But he's gone very heavy on command to try and sort of compensate for that. And I don't think it quite works that way. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure someone told me if you can get the focus really high, you can get sort of a 30k heal out of it, which probably helps. This is probably likely to potentially be my main formation, I think, for now. So at the moment, I'm just running Gandalf like that. Dane, full Refine Unique this season, which I'm quite looking forward to using. Thanks, devs, for changing the way that Mithril works. We've got Sauron's Unique just for the stats, even though I do think it's quite decent. And then we've got Shadow, who I'm quite looking forward to using. It's going to be a toss-up between Shadow and Bjorn for this last slot. Using the Black Numenorian tree just to try and get some more focus damage out of him, which is pretty cool. So we won that fight, and you would expect us to, really, to a degree. But the interesting part about it is, and it was just to look into the pre-battle about. I know people have been saying that Sauron doesn't necessarily need speed anymore, and there's a couple of things in this fight that makes me think he still needs an element of speed. So this is the pre-battle phase. So my Gandalf's gone already to get my White Council in because I've still got some speed on him. That's good. Then his Skalhelm axe. So basically it's already debuffed by my White Council. So again, another reason why you should probably have a slightly higher stat for initiative on your Gandalf. So anyway, that's all in there. That's the debuff from White Council that normally you try and avoid with Skalhelm if you can. Where we move from there? Executioner does the same. White Council affects it. That's fine. And then this is a bit that I was interested in. So Sauron for me now acts before. So this is the enemy. So the enemy's debuffing. So his Gandalf has diminished quite significantly. So if your Sauron's faster than their Gandalf, this is what I was trying to say the other day, if they build a purely focused Gandalf and it's like a 270 focused Gandalf, for example, I mean, where's my calculator? So say if it's a 260 Gandalf even against my Sauron, you're losing 18%, so equals times 18.8. You're losing basically 50 focus, so you're going down to 200 focus just by not being quicker than my Sauron. And my Gandalf has a 220 White Council and isn't made of paper, so 220 focus version of White Council and isn't made of paper is what I'm trying to say, because he's got some unit defense and command. So by just purely stacking focus, if you haven't got any speed and someone hits you with a faster Sauron or Witch King, to be perfectly honest, all that extra stat that you had goes and you've got no defense. So just something to keep an eye on. The other thing that I dislike about Skalhelm is this. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about Skalhelm's unique and where it sits and how good it is and things like that because of Gil's evasion. So Skalhelm's unique is a very good unique, and it does a really, really potent first round attack. I think it's called Dark Ambush. But not only if you're not quick enough can it be debuffed by White Council, and it'll still hit okay, but it can miss because of Gil evasion. It can miss just because someone simply got elves. Or if you're really unlucky, someone Sauron can actually make your Skalhelm mad. So it will fall victim of madness. So and then their Gandalf acts here. So the problem that I find with this, again, we've debuffed Saruman quite heavily as well before he comes into doing this. So my problem here is when Skalhelm acts. I mean, Skalhelm's really lucky here if I can find where that happens. It'll be just after Gandalf the White. Here you go. So where is Gandalf the White, Executioner? Where's Dark Ambush? Found this so easily earlier on Dark Ambush, but basically it's so hard now to find stuff in reports. I've probably gone past it to a degree. If someone sees it, I'm sure they'll sort of say it at some stage when they've gone through it, but this all Executioner. Here we go, Dark Ambush, finally. Apologies for that. So really luckily resisted the madness. Now that, it still does 4k damage. That's with being affected by White Council quite significantly. But that could have actually hammered themselves. So again, it's another unique that's kind of quite heavily affected, just to try and sort of say that. Don't get me wrong, it's a great sort of burst damage, and this extra damage from the poison's great, but there's so much that can go wrong with it for me that it's a strange one, really. So that was that fight. There wasn't really, like I say, there isn't a great deal else going on in the server at the moment, just because of the way the game's been slowed down. It's kind of all there really is to do is sweep at the moment, which isn't exactly ideal. I did just want to talk through the update, to be honest, because the update looks like it's quite a cool update, actually. So I don't know if anyone's read this week's update, but so you can now sort of like battle reports and share channels, which I think is a bit weird anyway, but there you go. But this is quite an interesting feature. So the constructing temporary camps is no longer restricted by the relocation cooldown. So that to me basically means that as soon as you've moved, you can move again and move again and move again if you need to, which I think is an interesting way of going about it. Or if you got relocated, you could come back. It would just take 8 hours rather than having to wait for the timer. This is also quite interesting. So you can now select your personal forts, tactical forts, and fellowship fortresses as waypoints for your marching routes. Again, pretty interesting, because then you can probably stay safer along the way, I would guess, because if you died, you'd fall back to that fort rather than something else, I would presume is the option, or you could stop there if you needed to. Reinforcements can do the same thing. Again, pretty cool. This return after completion is now set by army rather than you doing it as a general, which again I think is all right. If you sweep in, for example, at the start of the season in a kingdom scenario where two teams are in the same region, so you could actually kill each other, not staying on the road by, you don't have to be online then to recall yourself. You can just check that feature and you return to your base, which is quite helpful. Interesting that they're changing the figures for injuries and death to soldier count, to army head count with commanders included, so that'll be an odd change that I think will be worth going through probably tomorrow. Optimize this content of certain trails challenges in the tavern. I think that's supposed to say trials, personally, not trails. I think this is because some people have been struggling at the moment with a Gimli bug, where if you're trying to get his unique, you can't actually do the tavern task with him at the moment, so that'll be interesting if that finishes that. The display order of executional commands, I mean, that's a bit meh, doesn't really matter what that is. Again, this kingdom territory protection, that'll be interesting to see what the actual name of it is, but this is all kind of just optimized lists, so it's good that they are changing things regularly, but I do think, particularly from a combat point of view, this construction of temporary camps no longer restricted by the relocation cooldown is pretty good. You just have to stat your relocates just to make sure. And I think this could be an interesting feature with the personal forts. But that's kind of pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. Like I say, it was only an early season 1. The ring's now at ring level 60. I've been just getting through resources. I'm about halfway through chapter 19, I think, from a buildings perspective. Which it took a long time this time because you just can't get tiles early enough. So I've got a couple more buildings to go, and then I've got ages to save on this. I'll probably wait a couple of days on main hall 10, I think. But it could give me quite a distinct advantage in the power event that's currently on, because you get 25 tiles for the last chapter, which almost makes it worth it, to be honest, because there will be a lot of free tiles soon We hopefully get into the Dead Marshes tomorrow. Other than that, like I say, we just kind of building up gear slowly. We might have a little dabble in the gear chest when it comes up because we haven't really got anything spare here. We've just got this. I think Skalhelm is now level 20 actually. I should probably put that on. Do that now before I forget. Like I say, Skalhelm's a commander that I've been really disappointed in. I know some people really like it. It's level 30 for the relic, that's why. But for me, she just hasn't quite cut it at any stage. And mine's respect 13, so it's not like she's a slouch, but she just needs so much investment. I just can't get a tune out of her, sadly. As for ring point allocation, I meant to do that while I was in here. I am looking for resources. Plus also, this is when I was taking tiles. I probably should have switched this today so I could get more resources in, but I hadn't really thought that through until I've looked at it. And when I get into combat, I'll put the 2 points in Sons of Jordan, I think. If you are sweeping a lot, this is a great skill because it scales up to an extra, I think it's 20% for XP, which is really powerful when you're just sweeping mobs, which, to be honest, with the way the server mechanics now work, from day 2 onwards, day 3, there won't be many tiles, so maxing that's probably a good idea as well, to be perfectly honest. It's probably 8k a fight on a level 40 mob, which is a significant amount, to be fair. We'll probably start going into this as well soon. Hopefully get some PvP in the near future. But on that note, that's pretty much everything. Looking forward to this season. I hope it's very active. But in the sort of meantime, this 2-day period while we've been waiting for Chapter 4 to unlock has been really painful. I mean, there are tiles around, but they're owned by people that we know, really, to be truthful. Although I could definitely take this person's tile here. That is actually Vessi, and that would make me feel slightly happy about life, but I'm not going to do that yet. Anyways, as always with these things, if in doubt, always follow your nose.